1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All are.
One of resistance.
We are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Star Wars Reactions. We have a fabulous show for y'all today, and we are going to have a blast. This is episode 79. We are doing our chat series, our reactions chats that continues today with one of our very close friends. But let's get the introductions out of the way. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me, he's the fifth brother to my seventh sister, the David Motters. What's up, my brother?
Oh man, no, another good comparison, man. You know, tying into the dropping of tons of Obi-Wan Kenobi content yesterday. But with that and with continuing our reactions chat, I am absolutely ready to react and just excited to talk with you and our guest.
Excellent. And we're not going to waste any time doing that. Let's go ahead and bring in our guest. This week for our Star Wars reactions chat, or reactions chat as we like to call it, we're bringing in one of David and I's close friends. He is an awesome guy. We have known this man for years. He's a family man. He's a Disney man. He's a podcast guy, one of the co-hosts of Waiting for Obi. He is the fabulous Jason Brame. Jason, brother, welcome to Star Wars Reactions.
Why, thank you very much. I'm super excited to be on.
We are super excited to have you. This is something we have wanted to get you on, and for a while you're just a wealth of knowledge and just fun to talk to. So we wanted to bring you on and for this show to dig into your fandom. But after yesterday, we needed to talk to you just because we got a lot to talk about the Obi-Wan Kenobi show.
Oh my goodness, don't we?
Holy smokes. So for those of you who are living under a rock and not aware, the trailer released a whole bunch of promotional photos through Entertainment Weekly, the special cover for an upcoming Entertainment Weekly, as well as a teaser trailer, which blew everybody away. So if you're living under a rock, you need to go watch it. But I need to get everybody's reactions. And Jason, you're our guest, so we're going to start with you. When all this gorgeous, beautiful stuff started dropping, what were you thinking? What were your initial thoughts? What were your impressions of what it looks like we're getting?
Geez. So earlier in the day, it was kind of typical for kind of bigger releases to see those photos from Entertainment Weekly drop, and which were gorgeous. And I saw the photos and I didn't really read the comments or the captions on them, just kind of taking them in as they were. I was very impressed by just the way everything looked. It definitely has a very it has more of a cinematic feel than I think the Book of Fett or The Mandalorian have had, which is really kind of striking. But man, when that trailer dropped, it was almost the excitement that I had anytime a new trailer drops for a new film. Like more excitement than The Mandalorian, more excitement than The Book of Fett. It was so good.
Oh, I agree with you there. It was when it hit and the notification popped up on my phone. I'm like, I actually did a double take. I was like, oh, okay, cool, trailer. Wait, what? It grabbed immediately because I was working when it dropped, so I immediately jumped online and started pulling stuff up and messaged my boss, hey, Kenobi trailer dropped. My boss is like, I know, I just heard, I'm watching it now. Then he called me and we talked 45 minutes about it, which is great having a Star Wars fan as a boss. David, what were your thoughts when you saw the trailer?
Well, first, I'm so jealous. I know over, the last several podcast episodes we've done, you've mentioned you have this boss who's just this incredible Star Wars fan, and you guys can do that. I didn't know about it until you texted me, and you did the classic Twin Sons, episode from Rebels, and you just typed it out in caps with explanation, and I could just hear Sam Witwer yelling Kenobi, and you texted that, and I saw it, and you had put the link, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so I couldn't watch it. I don't know if you noticed, I texted you a little while later. I was in with clients, and they don't seem to really care about Star Wars as much as the three of us. So so I had to finish a session and wanted to watch it some more, but I agree with Jason. It did have, just in the little bit we saw, what, a minute 26 is, I don't know, something like that. Very cinematic, and the stuff included is incredible. The music, just to hear those musical cues were so powerful. I was just blown away, and kind of trying to take it all in and process it. So I guess I was just trying to take a breath after covering, Book of Boba Fett. You and I've done that. Yeah. Jason's done that with his co-host Kim, and I thought we were going to get a little bit more of a break until maybe April before they did this. So an incredibly pleasant surprise here, I guess, to start March Madness, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. They literally just took the internet by storm with these releases. And there was a lot of cool things in this trailer, from seeing Ewan McGregor again as Obi-Wan, but we get to see a young Luke Skywalker. We get to see Uncle Owen in the trailer. But then we get something we have not seen live on TV or movies as a live action before. We're seeing the Inquisitors in this trailer. We see the Grand Inquisitor, of course, the fifth brother, both of whom we know from Star Wars Rebels, as well as this new Inquisitor, Kiva. Man, I don't know about y'all, but this was exciting to see. That was probably my favorite part of the trailer, was seeing the Inquisitors throughout the thing. What jumped out at you, Jason, from the trailer that you latched onto that really excited you for the upcoming show?
Oh man,
I know there's a lot.
there's a lot.
There's a lot.
Just looking at the trailer, it was nice. It was nice I love seeing Obi-Wan in this kind of, like, for lack of a better term, middle period. This point between A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. It was really nice. We knew Ian McGregor was going to reprise his role. Like, this is the image of Obi-Wan we've seen, and I think something that's a bit, I don't want to say off from some of the other Disney Plus shows, but like it does make it hard to relate sometimes, is seeing one familiar character and then everything else is brand new around them. But what is kind of really fun about this is not only do we have Ewan McGregor, but we have Joel Edgerton back as Owen. And for some reason that grounded me a lot more in this series and kind of where it is and when it takes place, because it does bridge some of those gaps a lot better. The Inquisitors, of course, were amazing. And even hearing, I'm not mistaken, I heard the Emperor's voice do a voiceover, at least talking about talking to the Inquisitors. So, there's not been any confirmation, I don't think, that he's actually reprising his role in here, but, it's at least nice to have him in the kind of bring that gravitas to the series.
Oh, absolutely. I thought I heard that voice too. And that was something that has not been been confirmed that we heard correctly or not. But yes, it is fun to see that. David, how about you, my friend? What jumped out at you that you're most looking forward to?
Well, I think for me, and I'm curious to see what you guys think. I'm curious to see, and it kind of jumped out a little bit, is they're, I guess, they're gonna go off world. They do name a planet. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name. Where they go off world, and how much is Kenobi gonna do that? How much and how long is he gonna go off world? That stands out to me. The shot of, it looks like one of the Inquisitor's ships flying over water to that citadel type of structure that's, firmly planted in the middle of water. I have to tell you, I like the idea of being on other places than Tatooine, so that looks fascinating. And, I've really enjoyed the Inquisitors in Rebels. And in fact, last week when you and I were talking about it, who was, our favorite baddies from Rebels, I said the Grand Inquisitor. So to see him live action, I guess, he has the same facial markings as the one in the animated show. That, I guess I just didn't realize how much they would be there. But I thought about it, and I started to think about Filoni, and maybe what sticks out is you can't have Vader going and doing a bunch of stuff, right? But you can have Inquisitors going and checking these things out and trying to track out Jedi. So it'll be interesting to see how they play them out. And I think you mentioned, Aaron, that Inquisitor named Reva, right? Reva. And she looks pretty tough and pretty nasty. And so I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to use these Inquisitors here. And I'm sure Jason is curious about this, and you too, Aaron. Are they going to use their lightsabers as helicopters?
Man,
that was that's a good question. That was a little one of those beyond belief things from Rebels that you're like, seriously?
Right.
But yeah, no, it'd be interesting. It would be a nice nod if they did.
Right.
Yeah, there's some really, now that Filoni's involved, there's something about animation and animation philosophy and filmmaking with that medium that does make, I think we've seen it before. It's jarring for the fans to go from one medium to another because they're expecting a certain thing that just isn't, either from a budget standpoint or just practicality wise, not able to translate as well. I mean, everyone made a whole fit about the length of Ahsoka's Laku, or I mean, they're already talking about how the Grand Inquisitor looks. I'm like, can we just not enjoy the story, please?
Yeah. Yeah, that was something else I wanted to bring up, because we're already seeing, it hasn't been 24 hours. We've gotten the first look at it, and it's exciting. And we already have naysayers who haven't even given it really a shot yet.
Nay to the naysayers, I say.
Nay to the naysayers. I agree with that. But, there's always going to be, the nitpickers, and Lord bless them. But this is really exciting, beyond, there's always going to be a difference between animation and live action. I mean, even look at Dooku when they went from the movies to the Clone Wars and so forth. Even Windu from Clone Wars, or from the movies to Clone Wars. There's always going to be difference in looks. It just comes with the territory. But this is going to be, I think, going to be a show that's going to take the world by storm. I think as much of an impact as The Mandalorian had, I think this is just going to be, just because the level of cinematography that we've seen in the trailer, it looks very cinematic, and it's one of the people's favorite Jedis. So May 25th just cannot come fast enough. I don't know about y'all. It just cannot come fast enough for me.
Yeah, I'm honestly shocked how early the marketing arm for this show has started, but they're definitely proud of it.
Oh, they are. They're definitely, and they just got a lot of momentum to carry us forward. Outside of, our next Star Wars that we know about is going to be this show. So we got a nice quiet time really between Book of Boba Fett, which ended, and now Kenobi coming out. So I guess they're just trying to keep people's mouths watering and wanting more. Yeah,
Well,
keep the subscriptions up.
Yeah, well, like Jason said, I was just thinking back to Book of Boba Fett. I remember that trailer dropping at the beginning of November. They didn't even put it in that Disney Plus day, which was kind of surprising to a lot of us Star Wars fans.
Mm-hmm.
But they put it out by itself in November, and it came out in December. Here we are in early March, April, May, and so definitely they are starting it early. So yeah, they feel really good about it. I do have a question for Jason that is not part of our chat questions, which we're going to ask him in a little bit. But the name of his podcast that he does with his co-host Kim is called Waiting for Obi. So I want to know, Jason, when this series is over, are you going to change the name of your podcast to Waiting for ... the next? I got to tease you a little bit.
I believe we've actually talked about that. I don't know if we've talked about it on air or not, but we kind of joked. We're like, oh, it's here. Now what? Now what do we do? And I'm not sure we have getting. No, we're not changing the name, but we will have reached our goal and destination. Maybe we'll just stop recording. Who knows?
Oh gosh!
Don't do that. No. It's. I had to tease you a little bit. I love it, and I do enjoy hearing you guys. So I just wanted to ask you. Waiting for Obi, everybody. Take a listen.
Absolutely, and we'll have links to their show in our show notes when it's all said and done. But yeah, Kenobi's going to be great. Like I said, May 25th is the release date, and of course, if you have not seen any of the pictures yet that were released so far, did y'all see the picture released today of Hayden Christensen as Vader? That was released this afternoon. I saw.
By whom? Who released this? Who
This
released
was
that picture?
Entertainment Weekly. It was another Entertainment Weekly. They released it. It wasn't in the article. This was an additional photo they released today.
I only saw it because you, buddy. You sent it to me, and I was like, whoa.
Oh shoot! It's on the front page. Holy Sith!
Holy
I
Sith!
know.
Holy Sith!
It's that
looks good.
Looks good. That's exciting. It just feels more real now.
Yeah.
They said Vader was going to be in it. Now we're seeing Vader. It was one of those, I'll believe it when I see it. It's probably a flashback or something, but now we're seeing the full costume. We're seeing full Vader. This is, it's an exciting time to be a Star Wars fan.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, we're going to move on from our, from the Kenobi discussion, because we could probably talk on it all night if we start breaking down every individual scene from the trailer. But we want to talk to Jason a little bit and get to know Jason and get to know his fandom, which is why we do these shows. And to let you meet other Star Wars fans and to get you, you may find somebody, a kindred spirit in your fandom through this. So let's go through this. And I get the first question we always ask Jason for these chats is, how and when did you start your Star Wars fandom? When and how did that come about?
Wow. I haven't revisited this thought in a long time. So my first experience, I don't know which came first. This is going to be difficult. So the narrative's not going to be in a good chronological sense because young childhood minds of mine. But I do know. So growing up, you know, 8, 9, 10, or middle school years as well. I got really heavy into Star Trek. Oddly enough, my dad was a big Star Trek fan. We went to like Star Trek conventions back when they had solo conventions. Met all the stars, got the autograph, like did the whole 9 yards. Didn't wear costumes. I did have a captain's outfit somewhere for Halloween one year, but that was where I hung. I put all my eggs in that basket for a very long time. But somewhere in middle school, I got introduced to the Star Wars films because they were on back in the day before DVRs and on demands and all the things that we have today. I caught and recorded on a VHS tape the runs of the films that TBS would used to do, because TBS would always have the films on at least once a month.
Yeah.
So I finally was able to record all of those and watch them. I fell in love with the films that way. And then I got heavy into it all comes full circle in my life. This is when I first got heavy into customizable card games, because back in the late 90s, there was a game called Star Wars, the customizable card game produced by Decipher. And it was the second best-selling card game for a very long time to Magic the Gathering, which is the game that most people are familiar with when they think about that space. And so I was in middle school, going to tournaments at the game stores, playing and trading. And that's when I got all my Star Wars lore, reading all the flavored text, learning all the characters' names just from playing that game, or at least what we called them in the late 90s. So I did that for a long time. I absorbed a lot of the books that were out there at the time, the X-Wing series. Started reading what is now the Expanded Universe, or the Legends. Sorry, in chronological order. Went through the Thrawn cycle, went through all the crazy stuff that they did in those books. Then things. Nope, they die out. Then nope, because then it became a thing that we went to every release of the Star Wars film in theaters, me and my father. And we did that throughout the special edition and the prequels. And when did Return of the Sith come out?
Ooh,
08, 09?
2005.
05.
Revenge of the Sith came out 2005, yeah.
Oh. So I was still in the States. The States. I was still in North Carolina at that time. So yeah. So even though I was in college and everything, I always made it a point to go see those films with my father. I think after Revenge of the Sith, because of at the time starting a family, finishing out my college degree, going to master's school, all that jazz, I kind of fell away from the fandom for quite some time, because there wasn't anything really exciting everybody. I really wasn't into the animated films. The novels had just gotten to the point where I just couldn't keep up anymore. And then fast forward, I started working for the Walt Disney Company in the theme parks down here in Florida in 2010. And then, lo and behold, in 2014, Disney announces the purchase of Lucasfilm. And for some reason, the idea that they came in and kind of wiped the canon clean, started fresh. They had this whole idea on creating a cohesive narrative through all their mediums. I fell back in love with Star Wars. And I think until my first child was born, I absorbed every medium that came through, every comic book, every novel. I met you guys at Celebration that one time that I went. Yeah. And then I got into content creation because I started a YouTube channel called Star Wars: The Canon Explained. I think it was like my early foray into content creation. And the channel's still there, and the content's it's dated, but it's still accurate, I hope. Anybody wants to go check that out, it's alive on YouTube somewhere. Yeah. And then my children were born. So I've stopped absorbing the materials as quickly because there's just not enough time. But I do, of course, I've been to every film premiere. I actually did because I work with a lot of Star Wars fans, was able to buy out a theater for The Rise of Skywalker, which was super fun. And we went and all saw that on the opening night.
That was fun.
And gosh, oh, and then oh shoot, my fandom's gone crazy. Somewhere in the middle of that, I got back into collectible card games and did a whole content channel, podcast, YouTube channel with many volunteers and co-producers, called The Chance Cube, which we covered Star Wars Destiny, which was a kind of a flash in the pan card and dice game, but was very popular for 3 years, basically until the game was too expensive for them to produce, and then COVID just killed it off completely. So unfortunately, that died away. But I got one of my best friends, Kim, from that. Kim has gone on to start her own content channel. She does a lot of tabletop board game reviews, but we were so remiss on making content together that we missed it so much that about a year ago we started our podcast, Waiting for Obi. We started with the first season of The Bad Batch. So we've done The Bad Batch, we've done the Book of Fett, we've done Star Wars Visions, and now we're looking forward to doing Obi. And we just do reviews in the episodes. It's very low key. We set out that channel to say that our lives come first and our families come first, but when we have the time to record, we will record. So it's a very non-regular posting schedule. But if anybody's looking for a different Star Wars perspective, still very focused on providing some sort of narrative context. And Kim is a big Star Wars fan, but not a content absorber like I am. So she provides a nice kind of like a different perspective on things versus my like super like intricate details, that lightsaber's green, not blue kind of, perspective on things.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? That was really long.
No,
you said start, and I probably gave you the whole story. Did I answer 5 questions along the way?
No, you did perfect. I love it. We learned a lot we learned it all, and it's cool too, because a lot of people we've talked to people, they've got involved because of the movies, got involved because of a TV show. You hear all these stories, but it was gaming that brought you into the fold. That blows my mind. I love it.
More so than anything, gaming. I've always come back to Star Wars, I think, through some form of, because when you get into playing a collectible card game, especially like competitively, not like world championship level, but locally, going to your local game store, like it is such a social thing. Almost more like you have to seek out the social interactions with like sharing your fandom with other people when it comes to like movies and books and novels, but like you were forced to sit across the table from another Star Wars fan and play out a battle and be goofy and have Obi-Wan face down Darth Maul on a table, and who knows the outcome, because they could be a better player than you, and Darth Maul could finally win.
There's always got to be one way for him to get the upper hand.
That's right.
Oh, love it. David.
Yeah, well, I got the next question, Jason, and loved your answer. I love that, getting that history. I knew a lot of it, but not all of it. So great job on that. So here's the next one. I'm looking forward to this one. What was it about Star Wars that appealed to you as a fan?
Star Wars was my first exposure to. I think Star Wars was ahead of its time in this respect. My first exposure to like really intricate world building. The idea that every character, every interaction is important, and that there is a history to be found. There are these side stories, and there's whether or not they were written when the character was developed or they were created after the fact. This idea that there's this whole narrative space that is explored, and I think that's what this idea of an epic has followed me to love any sort of epics that have come through. Like like I said earlier, I did fall in love with Star Trek. I still watch Star Trek this day and keep up with the TV shows that come out and how they're all interconnected. And I'm always, when it comes to video games, I'm always drawn towards video games that have either a reoccurring like rhyming narrative, kind of like how Star Wars is set up. Like multiple iterations of a Pokemon series, or how The Legend of Zelda tells a similar story but in a different way every time. That all for me started with Star Wars and seeing this big arc. Really loved being pulled into the different mediums, the different way the story is being told. So for me, it's a big picture thing, and nothing, but it never takes itself too seriously. And I think that's why, Star Wars started that formula, and I think that's why Star Wars is I'm not a big rewatcher when it comes to films. It's very difficult for me to put on, unless it's a Disney animated film that my kids like to watch 100 times. There's very little that I can go back to the TV and say, I'm going to watch this movie again. Star Wars is the rare exception for that. It doesn't matter which film. There's always some part of the film that I enjoy looking forward to, whether it's the feeling of the victory celebration at the end of the special edition of Return of the Jedi, whether it's, the training scene in Dagobah, or even, there's so many great moments in the prequels that I love and enjoy as well.
Very good. Very good. Now, I do have to ask, and this actually isn't even one of our questions, but I want to ask.
Oh, you're going rogue now.
I am going rogue. I am. Just call me Rogue One. We have the prequels you mentioned. We have the original trilogy. We got the sequels. What era is your favorite?
Oh dear, that's rude. That is so rude.
Well, we know everything is your favorite, but
Everything is my favorite.
if you had to drift toward one,
so you're gonna hate this. I'm gonna choose option D, and my favorite era of Star Wars right now is between 3 and 4.
Very good.
I think, although as I don't gravitate towards rewatching this film the most, I think Rogue One was one of the best pieces of Star Wars that we've gotten, and there is so much missing, but there's so much that can be done with that era, and I think that's where the richness of Star Wars is right now, and I think that's what they're going to see that with Kenobi, and I think once Kenobi becomes as successful as they plan on it being, like we've got Andor coming up, which is going to be amazing, but because the world building piece is so important, the fact that 3 and the prequels and the classic trilogy, it took a long time for those two things to get connected.
Yeah.
And I think that I honestly and truly believe that they are doing a lot of work right now to try and connect the classic trilogy and the sequel trilogy. But it is going to be a lot of work, and I know the work is going on Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. We're seeing a lot of that groundwork being laid, because I think it's very important for them to make those sequel trilogies relevant for a larger portion of the fan base than I think that maybe they are now. And I don't think they're going to shy away from it, but it's going to take them a long time. But there's something about that era. Now, if you tell me which film am I going to go back to over and over again, it's probably going to be Return of the Jedi. It is that classic. It is the classic trilogy that I will put on at any given point and just enjoy and love. And that is my Star Wars. In fact, the day I was at work and it was a younger coworker of mine, and to find out that his Star Wars was the prequels blew my mind. I was like, oh wow, that's a thing. Like, people can get introduced to Star Wars through a different point now than what we got introduced to Star Wars through, and it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You got kids nowadays that their introduction to Star Wars was the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It's the idea that people can be Star Wars fans, and it doesn't go back to episodes 4, 5, or 6 is very commonplace nowadays.
Yeah. You guys know my daughter's name is Ray. And she, like, her introduction to Star Wars right now is like the stupid little 2-minute BB-8, shorts that you can find on Disney Plus. But she loves them, and she knows who BB-8 is, and she knows the name of all the characters, even though, like, she's not sat through a film.
Yeah.
We may have done some Forces of Destiny. I'd like to do more of those as she gets a little older and can, like, actually sit and watch them. But she just knows these characters because they're images she sees on her wall and they're pictures in a book.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's awesome. That's awesome, and it's that, and it's going to be fun as she gets older to be able to introduce her to those movies and those stories. I see my kids just don't have any interest in it, so I'm jealous that you're going to get to do that.
I don't know. She's got a droid from the droid builders at Batu that she occasionally will play with, but it's a little black BB unit, so it's the head falls off quite frequently with the baby around.
I can understand that. I got my BB unit sitting over here and my chopper over here, and they don't run around as much as I would like, but mainly that's because my dogs attack them.
Yeah.
So, all right. Jason, go ahead and bring it, or David, bring up the next question.
Oh, sure. Here it is, Jason. Do you have a favorite Star Wars moment or experience?
Oh man. I'll always hold on to the what it felt like to go watch the films on opening night in the theaters with my father. That's always, and then that the older I get, I think the more impactful that memory and the moment will be for me. A particular moment is probably seeing the Rebels panel with y'all at Star Wars Celebration. That was the most participatory that I've been in, kind of that moment of fandom excitement and being able to share, seeing something no one else has seen, seeing the excitement of what's to come, and that kind of boundless optimism that you kind of get when you go to those panels. That was fun.
It really was. That we had a blast during that panel. That was a lot of fun. I had great memories of that celebration. That's cool. When it comes to being a Star Wars fan, what about the fandom has had the biggest impact on you?
That's interesting, because I don't participate, I think, as actively in the fandom as I would like. I think that's interesting. Well, if it weren't for Star Wars, I would not be the content creator that I am today, and not by any means am I have thousands of followers and lots of clicks and the kind of the fame and notoriety that some people get, but just the comfort of coming onto a podcast and talking to people, and being comfortable building those friendships online, and being for anybody who's ever started any sort of content production thing knows how scary it is to put out that first piece, and the ability to kind of do that within the Star Wars fandom. And there was always the negative Nancy's out on the internet, but in general it gets either well received or supported, or you build these friendships like the three of us have. And that is something I would not have had I not been involved in the fandom, and which has given me the confidence to everywhere in life, right? It gives you kind of that confidence to know that the best work that you have, and you put it out there, and as long as you know that is the best that you can do, then you can be proud of it, and move forward.
Well said. Like that.
Do you want me to do the final question, Aaron, before the speed round?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. So we just gave you a hint there. Jason, the speed round's coming, my friend. All right. How do you feel about the current direction of the saga?
Oh, that's a loaded question. That's rude. Y'all are...
We don't pull any punches, my friend.
That's totally fine. So I'm always, I do this at work, and I do this here too. I'm always a big picture thinker when it comes to everything. I have always taken Star Wars. It is not the creative vision that is mine to put out. It is mine to consume. So I have always taken Star Wars for what it is, and if there's something that I find odd, or that that doesn't sit well with me, I may explain why it doesn't. but I can also reason out as to why it is the way it is. And so, like, I thoroughly accept the Rise of Skywalker and The Last Jedi for what they are, knowing that I can see some of the creative challenges that they were faced and what they put out. I think the direction of Star Wars is probably healthier now than it was before, because they've got some really passionate people leading it, as opposed to really talented filmmakers who maybe not as seeped into what we all know and love. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Between John and Dave, I feel like the fandom's in a very safe hands. I would love to see them reconcile 7, 8, and 9 with the rest of everything else, because the storytelling was very fast and was very there were a lot of, especially towards the end of that trilogy, there were a lot of reallys. The more you watch it, the more you're like, wow, that kind of came from left field. Now, I also put myself in the perspective of someone who watches A New Hope for the first time, and you hear this line that the Emperor has dissolved the Senate and they're not going to be a problem anymore, and you're like, who the hell is the Senate? Like, what the what is happening here? It's not until you get to 1, 2, 3 you realize there's this whole political thriller that's happening. So I think, because of the nature of the internet, that there was a lot of expectations for 7, 8, 9, but 7, 8, 9 used some of the same tropes that 4, 5, 6 did. They talked about things that never explained them, which is what Star Wars has always done, and I can't fault them for that. So I guess my answer to your question is, I'm gonna take Star Wars. I'm gonna love every bit of it that comes out. I'm going to absorb it. There are things that I like more than others. But I do think, from my personal desire and my personal way I'd like to see it go, I feel very comfortable with the hands that it is in. But I think that determination is going to be when the next feature film comes out.
Well
and
said.
if we haven't heard a lot about that, I know that they've got things in the works, but we've not heard more than, these people may be doing some stuff. I'm like, cool. Like, can we see some of this stuff? And maybe they're waiting for Celebration, right? We've got May.
Yeah.
Hopefully May will be a big news drop for us, as to kind of the fandom needs to be unified. I think we get unified behind The Mandalorian. We get unified behind the Disney Plus shows a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But there is unfortunately this black sheep in the fandom of 8 and 9. And I think they've got to figure out how to reconcile that.
Well said. I agree with that. That's well said. That was supposed to be our last question before we went into our speed round, but there's just one question that we had cut that I gotta ask you, Jason, that before we do the speed round, and that is, the Star Wars saga, of course, is full of themes that run through the stories, whether it be like redemption, hope, items, things like that. What theme from the Star Wars saga has made the biggest impact on you?
The idea that the actions of one person can change everyone's fate.
Ooh. I like. Makes you think.
Yeah.
Makes you think. I like that. One person can change history.
We're seeing that today. One person do something dumb and can change history.
Yeah.
Or one person can do something great and change history, which I think we see over and over again in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not perfect people either, right? It's nice to see that Star Wars kind of always puts they give the hope that the fact that someone who is not born into power, born into wealth, or just basically someone who has a belief and a passion and maybe a little bit of natural talent, can either influence others or can do something amazing. Obviously none of these things happen because of their singular actions, but their influence over other people definitely is what changed the course of galactic events.
Wow. I love it. That's so deep. Oh, that's perfect.
That's what you pay me for.
Yeah. I'll send the check in the mail.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's in the mail. I think, but last I heard, it got routed through Ukraine, so who knows when it'll get here.
Right.
So,
All right. Well, they need it more than I do.
God bless them. So, we always want to end these chats with what we call our speed round. This is just 5 simple questions, 1-2 word answers. You can always do some explaining if you want, but it's designed just to back and forth quick answers. So, David, you and I will just flip through them one at a time, and you can go ahead and kick it off with the first question.
All right. I think we already know it, but we're going to ask Jason anyways. Favorite movie?
Return of the Jedi.
Favorite character?
Wicket the Ewok.
Really?
Gee, sorry, Aaron.
Oh, that just caught me off guard. That is Wicket. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Go ahead, David. Sorry.
No. Wait, what? Wicket? It's just like Aaron. Wait, what? A trailer for Kenobi? Wait, what? Okay. Empire or Rebellion?
Rebellion.
Okay.
Favorite moment from a movie or one of the shows?
Oh, shoot.
That is not a nice question either.
It is not a nice question. The victory celebration from Return of the Jedi. I love the music. I don't know why. The special edition music is my favorite. It's my favorite track of everything John Williams has done.
Oh, well, I've got
Speaking of
the
which.
last. Speaking of which, the 5th question in our speedrun is your favorite soundtrack or song from the movies.
Oh, shoot. But now it's a question, though, right? You said favorite scene, favorite moment, but the favorite, like, if you just like strip away all the visuals and all the all that and just go straight music. This is coming from someone who has several degrees in music. No, I have to really think. Cheese and crackers. It is a toss-up between. Man, y'all are rude.
You're welcome.
Our goal is to get you to think.
I know. Okay, so
you got us thinking already.
Yeah, I know. So it's either the Battle of Endor or the title sequence for Rogue One. I know that's not a Williams track, but I love what Michael Giacchino does as well.
Very good. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well,
Ray's theme is so good too, guys.
Yes, it is. There's so much good stuff in.
I mean, Binary Sunset is just like a dumb answer because it always makes everybody tear up.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. Okay, I'm sorry. I gave you 4 answers.
That's okay. That's fine. We could keep naming pieces of music, and we'd still just.
Duel of the Fates.
Oh.
Thrawn's theme from Rebels.
Oh, the power of it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, in this Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, what do we have, Jason? Duel of the Fates, Force theme, and I think I'm blocking on a third one. It was beautiful to see the sand just peel away the Lucasfilm logo. And I think, is that when Duel of the Fates hit? Am I getting it right? I gotta watch it again. I'm not the music major, but boy, I sure can appreciate the music. But yeah, you know what it is, Jason, when you mention all those different tracks, and even like our first question, this is why we love having you on, is just the love that you have of it. And yeah, instead of saying the favorite soundtrack, you're like, there's 4 that are just beautiful and awesome. And but yeah.
Wait, like you said, wait for Kenobi because because Williams is back, at least in part, to do that. So
yeah, he's working on the theme for Kenobi. So I can't wait to get my hands on that soundtrack. That's going to be so perfect. Well, Jason, if any of our listeners wanted to check out your podcast or check you out online, how would they go about doing that?
Lots of different ways. However, most primarily, I host a podcast with one of my best friends in Ohio, Kim. It's called Waiting for Obi, and we are available on all major podcast platforms. If you'd like it's our narrative context and responses to everything Star Wars on Disney Plus and beyond. Mostly Star Wars on Disney Plus and not so much beyond. You can also, where else can you find me? If you search The Chance Cube, there's you may find some of my archived Star Wars Destiny content, but I also have a trading card business where I buy, sell, appraise, mostly Pokemon cards, but I just took in a large Star Wars collection, oddly enough, and staring at some of my recent acquisitions of the Luke Skywalker #1. So very excited about getting into some Star Wars trading cards as well. So I'm on Instagram, although I'm pretty sure I deleted all my photos, so there's really nothing to see on there. Well, you know what? Waiting for Obi, and hit us up on the Facebook page, and that's if you want to get in touch with me. That's the best way to start.
Perfect. And we'll have those links in our show notes there. You can check that out. Jason, my friend, I am so happy you were able to join us today.
I am happy to be here. This is so much fun. Thanks, guys, for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome. We appreciate you coming. We will be right back. Talk to you soon. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you again to Jason for joining us. We had a lot of fun talking with him, and hopefully y'all learned a lot about Jason. It's fantastic hearing about other people's fandoms and what motivates them and what they enjoy about Star Wars, because everybody's different. So we just want to send our appreciation to him. So, all right, David, Psychology Corner time, my friend.
Hey, I'm ready. After interviewing Jason, that was a lot of fun. I've been pumped to cover this, and over the last several weeks, in January and February, I've been covering the stages of change theory, and wrapped it up last episode. And I had texted Aaron a couple days ago, and I said, "Hey, man, I've got an idea for the Psychology Corner," and just spent quite a bit of time reading and typing and getting this prepped up. It's for me, a very fascinating subject. But and what it is I thought it'd be the right time to cover psychopathy. All right, and you might say, well, why? And I did the stages of change around January and February, when we as Americans think about getting a fresh start, changing certain behaviors, and so on and so forth. But right now, here in the world, we have a situation in Ukraine that has really shed more light on the true nature of Vladimir Putin. He's not a president, he's a dictator. And when you see what's happened, and really truly the traumatization of millions of people from the Ukraine, and of course how it's going to affect the countries that these persons are fleeing into, you can start to make the argument that Putin is a psychopath or a sociopath. It's an interchangeable term. In fact, let me give some background on this to our listeners, just to kind of get them up to speed on psychopathy. As I mentioned just a second ago, the terms have been used interchangeably. There's been two terms used interchangeably that really are kind of honestly not used anymore, but I'm seeing a little bit of a comeback with the terminology. But psychopath or sociopath have been the interchangeable terms. And again, let me give you a little more history on this. Our listeners, Aaron, have heard me talk about the DSM in previous Psychology Corners. The DSM stands for the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. It's put out by the American Psychiatric Association. We are now in the DSM-5, but psychopathy was introduced in the first two editions. It was in both, the first two editions of the DSM. However, it was replaced in the DSM-3, which came out in 1980, I think, if I remember correctly, by antisocial personality disorder. Now, I might spend some time covering that in a future Psychology Corner, but for now, I just wanted to mention that. And I wanted to say what we have currently that is perhaps the closest to psychopathy or sociopathy. And what that is a youth diagnosis that we have in there. There's a number of different diagnoses that are in there for youth, like children and adolescents. But one that maybe our listeners have heard is called conduct disorder. But the one that is the closest to psychopathy is conduct disorder with callous, unemotional traits. Now, what I want to do is just give people kind of an idea of what that looks like, what that sounds like. And I'm grabbing out, I did it before I left work today. I copied these diagnostic criteria for that, just to really give our listeners a feel for what these traits look like. And when I'm reading this, I want to tie this back to what I mentioned a minute ago when you think about Putin. Okay, you can think about any dictators throughout the history of time that any of our listeners have heard about. Of course, we have other sociopaths like Jeffrey Dahmer. All right, we had him up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I think John Wayne Gacy was in the Chicago, Illinois area. Different persons like that. But listen to these. Let me read these to you. The callous, unemotional traits. Okay, here. Let me just read the four off, and then I'll give you details on each of those. The first is a lack of guilt and remorse. See any of that in Putin when he's on TV? Any guilt, any remorse for the people he's affecting in the Ukraine? A callous lack of empathy. A lack of concern about one's performance on important activities, like maybe running a country, right? And a general lack of emotional expression. Now, let me give you a little more detail on each of these. And this is right from the DSM-5. Okay. All right. That first one, a lack of guilt and remorse. This is where the person does not feel bad or guilty when he or she does something wrong. All right. The individual shows a general lack of concern about the negative consequences of his or her actions. For example, the individual is not remorseful after hurting someone, or does not care about the consequences of breaking rules. Okay, let's look at that second trait of what are called callous, unemotional traits. This one is called a callous lack of empathy. And what this states is the person disregards and is unconcerned about the feelings of others. The individual is described as cold and uncaring. The person appears more concerned about the effects of his or her actions on himself or herself rather than their effects on others, even when they result in substantial harm to others. Okay? Let me go to the third one. Unconcerned about performance. All right? Let me give a little more detail on this, because that kind of title doesn't really do it justice. But it says here that these people do not show concern about poor or problematic performance at school, at work, or other important activities. The individual does not put forth the effort necessary to perform well, even when expectations are clear, and they typically blame others for his or her poor performance. And then the fourth callous, unemotional trait I mentioned to you is called a general lack of emotional expression. And the way it's described here is as a shallow or deficient affect. And these persons do not express feelings or show emotions to others except in ways that seem shallow, insincere, or superficial. Okay. Also, what we see in these individuals is when they do use emotional expressions, they're used for gain, right? They display emotions to manipulate or to intimidate others. Okay. So I wanted to share those to really kind of give people an idea of this whole thing when it comes to psychopathy or sociopathy. Now, just a quick side note, and then I'll wrap up for the night. There are 2 documentaries. I don't know if our listeners, if you happen to have Netflix, you can check these out. I have watched both of them, again, as a psychologist, and from, just a human perspective, just trying to get your head around some of these person's behaviors. But one of these very interesting documentaries on Netflix is probably one of the most famous psychopaths in American history, and that's Ted Bundy. And it's called The Bundy Tapes. It's 4 episodes, incredibly well done, and talks to law enforcement, different families that were affected throughout multiple different states. Just really well done. And it's kind of interesting and ties in to where Aaron and I live, not too far from where Aaron lives or I live. Northeast of us is Stark, Florida, and that is where Ted Bundy was electrocuted, even though he started his spree of killings out in Seattle, Washington. So his whole thing ended here in Florida. There's another documentary I would just encourage people to watch. It's called Filthy Rich. I watched this one as well. My wife had watched it, and she said to me, David, you got to see this. And it shows another psychopath, Jeffrey Epstein, and how he abused many people, not just women, but other people around him, men and women, abused them and affected their lives in such a negative way. Again, a very, very well done show. And it shows you in real life, really the diagnostic criteria that I was just sharing with you. And so again, if you want to see real life examples of this, it's not just someone like Putin or Fidel Castro and stuff like that, but two very well done documentaries. Next time Aaron and I meet and I do the Psychology Corner, I'm going to give our listeners some insights into what drives psychopathy, right? Why does that develop? And also, I want to touch a bit on some treatments that some really smart researchers are working on across the country and a few around the world as well. So I want to share those 2 things next time, kind of hold off for tonight. But there is, again, I hope a really timely subject for what's going on in the world. So there you go, Aaron.
Very good. Very cool. And if somebody has questions about your Psychology Corner or about Star Wars in general, how would they go about reaching you?
Definitely. 3 ways. First is Twitter at David_Modders, Modders. The another one is Instagram. It's just simply my name, David Modders. Look it up, and I'm there. And then I have the email address, david@StarWarsReactions.com.
Excellent. Excellent. And of course, if you want to talk Star Wars with me, the best way to do that is Twitter at TAHarris121079. Or of course, you can email me, Aaron, at StarWarsReactions.com as well. David, it's joke time.
Yes, let's do it. It'll be, you know what? This is much needed after my very uplifting and wonderfully positive Psychology Corner where I covered psychopathy. So we needed that joke of the week.
All right, here we go. Here we go. Why did Obi-Wan survive the tsunami?
Ooh, why did Obi-Wan survive the tsunami?
Because I have the high ground.
Oh, jeez. Oh.
The tsunami was called Anakin. It didn't go well.
I don't know if that was enough to be uplifting and to our listeners after my psychopathy coverage, but it's pretty good. Pretty good stuff there.
Okay. Well, how many Jedi does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Oh, jeez. How many Jedi does it take to screw in a light bulb?
Obi-Wan.
Only one, Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan.
Oh my God.
Obi-Wan.
Well, that's applicable today as well. Yeah.
All right. Well, David, my friend, this has been a blast.
Oh my gosh, absolutely, buddy.
All right. Well, we appreciate each and every one of you for listening in. Thank you, Jason, again for joining us tonight. It was an awesome episode. I hope everybody out there enjoyed meeting Jason as much as we had talking to him tonight. So take care of yourselves. Be safe. Stay healthy. We love y'all. We're praying for y'all. Y'all are the best. Remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.